All right, welcome back, everybody, after a little break. It feels like we got to such a great place in our last segment. Here's my notes from our last segment. I'm not asking anyone to try to read it or anything like that, but just to kind of get an idea. And that stuff right in the middle there is kind of, well, I'll just read it off. So, we're working at the level of the whole of it, the whole of our problems, the whole of our opportunities, the whole of a whole world, the totality of it, led by the divine feminine. We are entering a wormhole of transformation that's accelerating, and it's going to take us to a whole other place. We even talked about the word utopia, and Jackie did such an amazing, thank you, sweetheart. Jackie did such an amazing few minutes on utopia. It was just mind-boggling. Anyway, it's all recorded, so make sure you see that. We talked about the category of the mega solution, which is what we're launching with the press conference. And Ugo, should I recap for you, or do you feel like you've got a good grasp on the whole of it? I'm happy to recap.
I believe I have an idea, but
yeah. Okay. Let me just do a quick recap.
Okay.
And Nolan, Emery, James, Stephanie, Melvin, feel free to jump in if there's any missing pieces, because I'm just gonna do a quick take on it. So here it is. We're going to do a press conference, and let's just say we do it in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, where the mayor is very, very powerful, and he's the president of the National Conference of Mayors of the entire United States. President. He just got elected president. So a very powerful mayor with national reach to other mayors who are his peers in other cities. And imagine we launch Operation Stone Soup right there in Louisville with the immediate objective of feeding everybody in the whole city nutritious, plant-based, whole foods-based meals, food, right? Delivered to their homes. And we do that immediately. We get right on it. We start with several donated truckloads of rice, beans, in their dry form in these, big 50-pound bags, right? Corn, truckloads of potatoes, truckloads of produce, and we get restaurants engaged in preparing it and, getting paid for their service, unless they want to donate it, right? And maybe in turn they accept donations. I don't know. We'll figure it out, right? We'll figure out something that's fair and that works, right? That's the objective. And most importantly, that feeds everyone, right? Because it was said very well, I think by James, or I forget who said it in the last meeting, that here, so many, and Silas also said it well, so with so much food being plowed under and just going to waste, going to rot, right? Being thrown away or just plowed under, right? Because the food networks have been disrupted. And then meanwhile, you've got millions, probably now tens of millions of people, probably soon hundreds of millions, starving, going hungry, right? Certainly malnourished. And it's like, what? We can't connect the dots to get the food that's now being thrown away onto the plates of the hungry. If we can't do that, what kind of species are we? Right? So we, with Operation Stone Soup and food healers is another, The Food Healers is for the food delivery. Operation Stone Soup is more kind of the big umbrella mega strategy, right? That in fact defines and gives birth to the category of thing called mega strategy, right? Probably before you met me, you had never heard before in your life the words mega strategy. Raise your hand if I'm wrong. Mega strategy, okay? All right. So prior to me, you never heard the words mega strategy. After we launch this, after we do this press conference and other related media events that I'll summarize briefly, the world will now be introduced to this new concept of a mega strategy, because Operation Stone Soup is a mega strategy. It encompasses feeding everyone nutritious, immune boosting, plant-based whole foods, redesigning, reconfiguring, redoing the world's food networks in the process, right? I actually worked on developing software for this, which led me to propose to Bill Gates that we take this on as a serious challenge and work with Warren Buffett and others. Bill Gates was simply not interested. And I think it's obvious why. I mean, he's sitting on tens of billions of dollars. What do we need to do to get any substantial food distribution service going? Money, for starters anyway, and certainly back in those years. So here, we present to the world the first mega solution, which is OSS, Operation Stone Soup, which encompasses feeding everyone, ending pandemics for two reasons, because most pandemics come from meat and humans eating meat, and we get to the root of it with plant-based foods. And number two, we heavily promote, and in fact empower social isolation, because we deliver food to you so you don't have to leave your home. Next, we go right from there onto SRM. So once we've pretty much nailed the food problem, which we'll do very quickly with the emergent and rapidly evolving and growing collective superintelligence. More on that later. With the collective superintelligence, we will nail feeding everyone in short order, because it'll become phenomenally popular. Because you can be on one side of that or the other. Do you really want to be on the dark side of that? No, I don't believe in this feeding people thing. Dude, you might be the next hungry homeless guy. So you might want to rethink that. Dude. Right. My point is, nobody's going to get, very few people are going to get on the wrong side of that question. Right. All right, Stephanie, great to see you. All right. Thanks so much. And come back anytime and take good care of yourself. All right. We'll see you soon. And
see you tomorrow, Steph. Talk to you tomorrow, love. Good night.
And hello to Kevin. All righty. Okay. So with those, 3 or 4 pillars, depending on how you count it, right? Feeding everyone, eradicating pandemics, cooling the planet through SRM, and collective superintelligence. Okay, that was 4. And notice that I didn't even mention plant-based foods, right? When I was talking about feeding everyone or ending pandemics. And part of that is so that we don't rub in the faces the already dying meat and dairy industries, so that we don't rub their own extinction in their faces too bad. We just don't rub that one in. Now, we talk plenty about it, but it's not in the headline. right? The headline would read, Collective Superintelligence takes on feeding the entire world, ending pandemics, and cooling the planet in time. Bam! You know, something like that, right? That one's not exactly well worded, but, you know, something like that, right? That's the headline. Go into paragraph 1, start reading the article, and then you'll immediately find the 5th column, the 5th pillar, which is plant-based foods. And there you have the big 5. But it's really the big 4 that we really push. We're going to feed everyone, therefore end pandemics. Feed everyone delivered right to their homes. Therefore end pandemics. And we're also going to cool the planet through SRM. And we're going to do all of this powered by collective superintelligence. And our initial focus is feeding everyone. And within that initial focus, we're starting right here in Louisville, Kentucky. Watch. And once you've watched and teared up and cried, get a good meal yourself. We're happy to deliver it. If you're in Louisville, we'll deliver. Get a good meal. Get a good night's sleep. Wake up the next morning and ask yourself, how do I feel about all this? And do I want to participate? And there's a very easy, safe, no-brainer way of participating, which is to join the conversation. So, all right, we've got 2 asks. Let us serve you. Let us serve you and deliver to your home nutritious, immune-boosting, plant-based whole foods, right? Prepared, ready to eat, etc. Right? And please join the conversation about all this. Now, you could say no to those propositions, right? But who would want to say no to those? It's just too exciting, right? Look,
Bill Gates' roommates.
Bill Gates' roommates. Yeah, look, you know, the sociopaths. And you know what? I'm gently rubbing it in Bill Gates' face that he told me not interested when I suggested we take this on. He didn't even want to talk about it, didn't even want to entertain it. Thanks, Bill. Right? And, you know, I worked for him and didn't have the kind of relationship where I could rub his nose in something. Right? He's a very smart guy, very well informed. He knows what's going on. He knows how many people are starving and all that. And if he chooses not to give a rat's ass, that's between him and Creator, as far as I'm concerned.
And he knows he can make money off of pandemics through pharmaceuticals.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Emery has his hand up. Go for it, Emery.
Thanks, John. I had a question for you. Where is the call going to be put out for volunteers? Like where, like say Louisville, okay. We're in Louisville and we need a certain amount of people to volunteer for, let's say, number 1, deliveries. Okay, so you're gonna have to volunteer to help us deliver the food. Now, you know, we're gonna have volunteer restaurants as well. They're gonna volunteer. They're gonna be part of the app, part of the K Mama, right? So there's gonna be some give and take there, right? They don't necessarily 100% volunteer. They will be paid. They will get paid to some extent, you know. I imagine, right? And then you have the the volunteer farmers that are going to have some delivering to do also to these outlets that are ready and willing to participate. Right now, I can't help but see there's going to be a need to inject some cash somewhere along the line, somewhere, because you've got unforeseen expenses that inevitably will have to get resolved. So I don't know how the ways and means about that yet. Something that definitely is going to require collective heads and collective intelligence to iron out all these sticky details. But I think it'd be smart to have them ready and in place as you move ahead with, as we, as a collective, kind of move ahead with this project. And I'll have some more to say after. I'll let you just think about that.
I love it. I see some incredible opportunities here, and I'm for, because you mentioned about funding, and that at some point funding is going to have to be a part of it and all that. And I totally hear it, and I think initially it probably is, kind of a vital element to it. And I don't think we'll have any trouble raising it. So that's not where I'm going with the following. Where I'm going with the following is that a world without money and a food network like the one that we're, co-creating here, I'm just going to call it the Food Healers Food Network, right? That is all possible to achieve without money. Imagine the following scenarios. And this is, this is admittedly, I guess utopian would probably be, the right word. And I can't really think of a better word. And so it's admittedly utopian, and what it amounts to is imagine the oil companies donating the fuel, right, to do this. And imagining mechanics donating their time to keep the tractors and the trucks well maintained and lubricated and, preventative maintenance and all that good stuff. And, everyone volunteers their time, right? So the real hard inputs of, machinery and fuel, right? Those are the, and probably fertilizers to some extent. And that's, that's a large scale chemical thing. Doesn't have to be. We'll talk about the transition to organic and to edible living forests, but that's kind of a secondary conversation at this point, because right now we're, focused on the very immediate, tangible goal of feeding everyone now, not 3 years from now. We'll have plenty of time to plan out 3 years from now, but right now we got to feed everyone now. So there's some hard inputs if we continue doing it the same way that we're doing it now. But as soon as I say that, I even question it. To what extent do we really want, to be reliant on the same hard inputs? So it's really, it's a balance between changing things now and changing things over time. But just to kind of keep things to some degree simple and to some degree mechanized, and I kind of hate myself for saying that, but if we keep the tractors running, we don't have to have so many people in the field potentially spreading, disease, right? We have the tractors anyway, so let's use them, is my point. And there's a glut of oil on the market, and oil is super cheap. So it kind of makes sense at this point. And So I'm just saying it's possible to do all of this literally by transitioning to essentially a volunteer economy. All volunteer workforce. Nobody charges anyone else rent. Now I'm really getting utopian. Just volunteer, I don't know, 15, 20 hours per week, but not more than 20, right? These, 40-hour a week full-time jobs that spill over into 60 easily, with emails and everything else, right? It's modern slavery, right? We're enslaved to this modern system. So this would be a way to liberate us all from all this superfluous stuff. Focus on the really important, feeding everyone and cooling the planet. I would so prefer to live in that kind of a world, which is fully supportive of life, especially with plant-based foods. I would so prefer to live in that kind of a world than a world with way more luxuries and products and services and technologies and this and that, in which we have the levels of starvation and malnutrition that we have today, and the levels of pandemics that we have today, and all the exponential planetary overheating. Because here's the thing: once we've tackled food, once we've fed everyone, and redesigned and revitalized the food networks, and kicked off their evolutionary trajectory, I think that's really the concept that holds it all together. Let's pick the right evolutionary trajectory, which includes the now and the later, and the pathway to get one from one to the other. With the right evolutionary trajectory on the food networks, powered by the right collective superintelligence, which we're also happily pioneering here, right? And focusing thereupon immediately after getting the food thing, up and rolling, immediately start to build out the team and the conversations around SRM, so that we roll that out too. And I really think the simplest way to accomplish all this at this point, the most straightforward, the most sensible, is to, not destroy the old economy, but just hit the pause button, right? Put our focus on the fundamentals at this point. Feed everyone nutritious plant-based diets. Get people well, get them energized, get them feeling gratitude, and all of us eating at the same table, right, so to speak.
Definitely,
then,
definitely have to feed the hungry, right?
Well, not just the hungry, but everyone. Why? So that we can, all of us, every last one of us, from Bill Gates to the starving man, all of us get our food delivered to us. Nobody has to leave their home to go get food or anything else. We should probably also have doctors making house calls again, and other services brought to the home. Anyway, more on that, but look, between feeding everyone and cooling the planet and saying, look, let's put a pause on everything else. We've got to really focus on these two big things, or we're not going to make it. We're simply not going to make it. If we let half the world starve, the world's going to go Mad Max. People don't die easily. Just ask Bruce Willis. They die hard, and they'll go down fighting, and they'll go down with stuffing pitchforks up the whats of rich people. So it's simply not even good for the rich people to try to be too greedy on this one. It's time for a new deal for the world between humanity and Mother Earth. But humanity has to take this on as a whole. So we put a pause button on that shiny new toy that we've developed over the last 200 years, called all this modern cool stuff. We only keep operating what's vital. Food networks, the internet, and communications networks generally. And the industry is vital to SRM. And I would just say the industry is vital to, you know, basic essentials, right? Stuff like toilet paper and, you know, bird seed and stuff like that, right?
Well, let me ask you something. Have you looked at any statistics? Are there any statistics available on Louisville through, you know, like social aid services, churches, organizations, to see what they're dealing with right now, to see what the level of you know, of compassion right away is going to be required, because, you know, obviously they're a lot closer and have been a lot closer to this you know, situation. So they're in the know. They can evaluate the need as it stands and as it's been for a while. It's a good gauge. Now, if there's if they have statistics on that, that would be good to know, because, you know, it could help prepare the path for what we need to do. You know, so we don't want to get caught with your pants down, right?
Yeah. I have two things to say about that. One is that definitely we need to integrate deeply, work very closely with all these other organizations, and to the extent possible, all get on the same page, right? Work towards consensus as to how we want to do this holistically and together, right? So that we're not, heaven forbid, competing with each other, for crying out loud. So let's work together. The second thing I want to say about that is, whereas they're operating like food banks and they're delivering to certain people and whatnot, we are taking on something of much greater scale, which is offering food to everyone. Offering. Now, you know, if somebody in a mansion, when they see us walking up the, you know, the pathway to their house offering free food, if he says, "I got my own food, I also got my own shotgun, get off my property, boy," you know, well, you know, obviously we'll apologize and we'll get off his property, boy. And simple as that. So we're not forcing food on anyone, and we're just offering food to everyone, from the poorest to the richest. That way it's total, right? You know, we don't want to be accused of discriminating against anyone, right? Because let's say you don't deliver to the poorest, to the richest neighborhood in the city. I guarantee you, there are disabled, there are elderly, there are LGBTQ, and there's people from the whole rainbow in that neighborhood. And we're suddenly discriminating against them all, right? So, and also the benefits of delivering food to the rich, you know, whose pantries are plenty full. There's no question about that. The benefit is, A, they learn about the program if they haven't already, and they probably have already, so this just reinforces it. And we're bearing gifts. We're not asking them for anything. We're simply bearing gifts. And, you know, when you feed anyone, right? Good things come of it, right? I once brought really delicious Mexican food to this, you know, to a high-level exec at Microsoft, and you know, I just thought he might be hungry, so I brought him food, and we had dinner. We had a big meeting, and he just like was super generous with the budget, just super generous, and it just felt like the food had something to do with that. It was just kind of funny, but basically. So no matter, and this is you know, a rich, you know, somewhat famous person, and so you know, the monetary value of the food was nothing to that person, but just the fact of bringing food to people, they love it. Rich and poor, rich or poor, any person loves it. Now, if they've got some kind of food allergy, and this gets into the interesting details, because we're going to actually, query people first and ask them, you have special dietary requirements, any allergies, any this, that. We're going to be super sensitive. But one line we won't cross is that we will not go beyond plant-based foods, right?
Well, I could see myself living in Louisville, okay, and let's say I can put myself in the category of I can use some help, I'm struggling, I feel like ill, and I can't really go out and get what I need. Well, maybe I could have some kind of a sign, like how people have buildings and they have room for rent, and they put out a sign for rent, right? Or for sale, and it's catchy, right? People see that off the road right away, right? So if I'm living in a certain area, I'd be tempted to put out a sign, I'm hungry, or I'm in need, right? And I might not have a fancy app, right? So, that could be something to look into.
Well, Emery, here's what's coming to mind for me. If you're serious about moving to Louisville, for example, if that's where we launch this, then I think we could pioneer a new form of a moneyless economy. You could become like one of the pioneers of it, because your housing would be taken care of, your food would be taken care of, transportation taken care of, medical taken care of, everything taken care of. And and you could volunteer doing whatever you felt like doing, right? That was supportive of this. So if you like working in greenhouses, working on greenhouse grown foods, great. I think you'd be really awesome with people. So for example, at, headquarters, wherever that was, I'd love to have you sitting there, obviously wearing a mask and gloves and all that. And, receiving people as they come in who are new to the program and say, I heard about all this great stuff, I'd like to volunteer, Yeah, I think you'd be an awesome person to sit down with them and talk them through the whole thing and answer any questions they have. Because you've been an integral part of this from the very beginning, right? So you're like one of the founding, elders of, not that you're an elder, but you're one of the founding people, right? Originals of this thing, right? So you've got a perspective on it that's totally unique, right?
Well, let me tell you, I'll be turning 65 at midnight, right?
Wow.
And I'll tell you another thing. I've been on the receiving end of food. I've had rough times in my life. It hasn't been a totally easy ride. And I've had to rely on food banks for food. And I've been in the line waiting my turn with carrying my 2 empty bags to have, the people fill it up with food, So I know what it feels like. And there's an angle there too, which has to do with pride as well. It's not always that you want to be there with your open hands and help me, because it's it's just difficult. I can't put it into words right at this moment. I could, I could dwell on it more and be more precise on how I feel about it and paint you a really clear picture. But, this is a tricky business, and we're working with the feelings of people, especially now in this time where we have this this problem with the virus and everything. It's touchy. I'll just leave it at that for the moment.
Yeah, it is touchy. I agree with you, Emery. But likewise, I've been on that end of that stick as well myself. And more times than I care to even think about. And people do have their pride. I have my own certain amount of pride as well. And I have no problem in saying that I was actually offered food, a hamper of food yesterday by an old neighbour and friend. And they did state that I know you're proud and you know what I mean, but if you're stuck, you're stuck. And I said, yeah, I can be proud, all right, but I can also accept when I am in need, and pride in that case is a sin. So I said, I appreciate your offer, but as I stood yesterday, I wasn't in the situation where I needed to take the food, and so I said, thank you very much. But there's definitely somebody out there that will need it more than I do anyway. For the moment, I can manage. I have no doubt, I said, in the past and probably in the future, I'll probably depend on someone again like that, because we all do from time to time. Nobody can be 100% sure that they're not going to end up hungry someday. And happy birthday, in case I fall asleep in a minute, Emery.
Yeah, happy birthday, Emery. Well, in fact, let's sing Emery happy birthday. And
No, come on.
and I'm not far behind you.
Okay.
So all right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
At midnight.
Birthday
Still
to
young chicken. I'm still spring chicken.
Happy birthday.
birthday to Emery. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Ow.
Yeah, that hurts.
Beautiful. So, yeah, you'll be the first person who'll be able to say I came of age in the block party. Anyway, so anyway, there are so many cool things you could do, Emery. I mean, just the fact that you're so open about your story is really powerful. And another thing is, rather than this thing being, about feeding the hungry, as if everyone that we're delivering food to is hungry and therefore, a stigma associated, we take a totally opposite approach. We take an approach grounded in something that has nothing to do with hunger, and that's partly why we deliver to rich and poor. And the media is going to love covering when we deliver to the richest neighborhoods. And in the case of Louisville, oh my goodness, are there rich neighborhoods there? Louisville is almost just a case study in what's called old money. Old money. There's so much old money in Louisville. So lots of money, basically, lots of concentration of wealth. So as we go, and they like being ostentatious in Kentucky. So there are plenty of mansions in Louisville. So the media is going to be there when we go to these rich neighborhoods, right? We're offering food, delivering food. And we'll get everything from, get off my property, you communists, to, oh my goodness, well, thank you so much. Come on in. Tell me about this, right? Well, there's a television crew out there. Well, bring them in too, right? Look, part of the reason a lot of wealthy people, not all of them, but part of the reason a lot of them invest in these big ostentatious homes is because they like to show them off. So if they have an opportunity to bring the media in, odds are maybe 50-50 whether they'd bring him in. They might just bring him into the library or something like that. right? They've got rooms for receiving people. So it's not that big a deal to consider that. So anyway, we'll get some great media coverage. And in fact, that great media coverage will turn this whole thing on its head, because the media will be covering us delivering to rich, famous people and watching their reactions. Some of them are vegan. The vegans, oh my goodness, they're going to roll out the red carpet for us. And it'll be all on television, all on YouTube, all over social media, right? And that'll totally turn this thing on its head. And if that's not enough, as if that weren't enough, the whole point of this that we come out and say publicly, the main point is to end pandemics. Eat healthy, stay home, no meat, because that's how these no meat or dairy, because that's how these viruses originate in the first place. And voila. Who said anything about hunger? Right? Of course, the reality is it's extremely important that we're feeding the hungry. But we don't have to broadcast that so much as do it and really fulfill on our promise to feed everyone. There's a big difference between feed everyone and feed the hungry. If you say feed the hungry, no one will show up. Feed everyone, and the hungry will definitely show up, and a lot of the non-hungry will show up. And we want everyone there. So that's it.
Well, I saw a video lately, which I think I'll play it for us later on, and it's about building Google, right? It's a gentleman who lives in Pakistan, and he did a little bit of a seminar, 15-minute video on how he would go about solving the biggest problems. And one of the problems was, okay, well, I want to build Google, and he's looking for a team to build it. And I'm gonna have to play that video for us later on, but it's very interesting, and you could learn a lot on by looking at the approach taken to solve that problem of, well, I want to build Google, and how am I going to go about doing it?
And Emery, does it focus more on the technology, building the technology, or building the company, building and financing the team and all that?
Well, there is, I guess, basically some of it leans towards finding people with the ability to, the ability in a technological sense to, get everything lined up and done in a proper process, right? Using the right formulas and whatever, right? So there's some of that, but there's more to it than that also, because there's a side to it where people have to have the confidence too. They have to have the confidence and the fortitude and the stamina to be able to, put their energy and commit themselves to a project like that, and appreciate that project, not as something that is undoable, because a lot of people have their talents and abilities, and not always are they evaluated to the fullest extent, and it takes somebody to sort of point that out to them as you guide them to build Google for you, you know, or to build Google for the collective. So anyway, it's later on. I can play it if you want.
Roughly how long is it?
I think it's about 15 minutes long.
Yeah, maybe a little later. Yeah, as things you know, slow down. If when things slow down a bit, if they do, because it feels like we're in a really great, you know, just kind of homegrown conversation, right? So I say definitely yes. Let's play it. I for one am super interested to learn all about it, and I'm just suggesting maybe a little later.
Okay.
That sound fair?
Yep.
Cool. But it sounds like exactly the kind of thing we want to see, because you know
That's why I brought it up.
yeah. Well, whenever you know the consensus of us wants to see it, I'm totally game. Totally game. No hesitation.
Well, the key word will be let's build Google.
Yeah, and this gentleman in Pakistan who put this thing together, what are his sort of qualifications?
Well, he's a very prolific fellow. You know, IT. You know, in Pakistan, a lot of call centers. You know, a lot of IT focused work that happens there. You know, so he's very up on technologies and whatnot. He's got about, I don't know, over, he's got thousands of videos on, you know, helpful. Not all of them are in English. So, you know, very much on Facebook. Does a lot of live streaming on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see it. So whenever
Right.
Whenever we want, really. Should we watch it now?
It's your call. I mean, we're not disrupting.
No, it sounds like we're right on topic.
I'll dig it up. I'll have to play it from my end because it's not a YouTube video. I recorded it, so.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's give it a try and see how the streaming goes. You know, to check the box that says, you know, share computer sound, right?
Right. Okay, I'll try it. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll just set it up first.
Yeah, no, take your time.
Right.
Okay, so majority of the world people, most people have never made Google. It's okay, a voice is coming. Most people have never made Google. Most people have not made IBM. Most people have not made Ford, Disney, nothing gigantic. If you want to hire someone and say on job description, I'm looking for someone to make Google for me, what kind of people what would it cost you to hire somebody who thinks he can make Google? A lot of money. But the reality is that anybody can make Google. The challenge is that most people who think they cannot make Google cannot make Google. But most people who think they can make Google are very expensive or crazy. Either they're really good or they're really stupid. Right? They're not going to be able to do it. So people who normally, it's a filter actually. It's a very good question of filter. If you ask this question and somebody says yes, you look at their profile and you know this is somebody you want to block actually. It's totally out there. But if somebody says, and most of the time people who will say yes will not even be in your network. It's impossible almost to have that kind of people. But if you yourself can believe that you can make Google or you want to make Google, I can show you how to make Google. So the way to make Google is, say this is Google, or this is where you want to end up, right? And this is where you are, and you don't have a lot of money, right? That most of the time who do big things don't have a lot of money, but they have a lot of what? They have a lot of drive, they have a lot of self-confidence, they have a lot of energy, but they don't have a lot of money most of the time, right? Or let's say they have money, but even then they don't have money enough to make Google. So imagine you want to hire a driver and you're in Pakistan, right? You're in Pakistan and you want to go from here to the beach. And if you want to hire a driver, imagine going to the beach is like going to the Google. If you go and hire people and you say, I'm looking for people who can take me to become Google, nobody will come. But if you say, I want to hire a driver, you will have 500 applicants who don't know what they're getting into, but they are going to come. And that is the advantage of this country. This country has a lot of people. If you do the same in Singapore, not a lot of people will apply. If you do this in Greece, not a lot of people will apply. If you do this in the United States, not a lot of people. But if you do this in Pakistan, if you say, I want to hire a programmer who can code in Python, you will get 500 applications, I guarantee you, if you put $100 on it, which is not normal. It's phenomenal. But now how to use those 500 people to help you make Google? If you tell them you want to make Google, they will run away. Why? Because they don't have the self-belief, the self-esteem, they think it's too big of a task because that's what they were told. That's their reality. So if I want to hire a programmer, I would say, please take me from here where we are to the end of this street, which is like nothing, right? So you just tell where I want to go. Absurd, right? Why did you waste your time and my time in saying I can take you here? They can't even do this much. I'm sorry if somebody is getting offended, but that's not my purpose. I'm here trying to explain. You have 500 people and you will lose 400, I believe, and you will get 100 people. You take those 100 people and you say, oh, fantastic, you passed the first phase of test. Now you take me to the end of another street, like a bigger street. Like this was a 100-yard distance. Now take me to 500-yard distance. Right? And out of 100, 50 will drop. Then you take them to another 500 yards, not because they cannot do it, but because to see them, first of all, these people did not know how to do it. These people knew how to do it. These people knew also how to do it, but these people know how to do it but they don't have the perseverance or intention or drive. Knowledge is there, but drive is missing. Commitment is missing, which is also a big problem in this country and other countries also. So here you will drop another 50 and you will have 10, which is for $200 a month. It's impossible for you to hire anyone for this price with this kind of capability. If they reach here, these are your boys or girls who will help you go to Google. Now you work with these people. And these people, you give them this size of work. And you hold their hand and you walk slowly, slowly, slowly and make your Google. If you do this, you can do anything, here or anywhere. You go and find what are the masses capable of. You put a filter, they say they're capable of, but they're not really capable of. So if you're, for example, you said Greeks loves to dance. So everybody says, oh, I'm a fantastic dancer. So you put an ad, I want 5,000 dancers. We'll do a show about dancing. You will get 500 people, but only 100 will be really worth working with. The rest of them are just saying, bathroom singers or dancers. So this is a filter process in everything in our lives. If we apply this, this will get you to become the Google. Because these 10 people are fantastic. You can do this again and again, and every time you want a new batch, you do this process. But you never tell them that you want to go to Google. You can tell them you want to be here. If you tell them that you want to be Google, they will be what? Scared of you.
So how do you break it down in something that it's not scary anymore?
It's something which is, so if they are $200 person you want to hire, you tell them something which will help them become a $1,000 person. That's it. That one for them is $250,000 person or $25,000 person. For them, it's impossible to happen in Pakistan. Right? For them, this is possible in Pakistan because they've seen it. Oh, I know a friend who makes $1,000 a month. So you tell them, oh, this is what I want to become. Your grand vision, when I say to people, I want to end poverty from planet Earth, they just run away. They're like, crazy guy. It's too big of a goal for people to digest. But I still say it, I'm crazy. I don't mind. But it's a longer journey. You will find people, but the filter process is different. It's still, you will still find people, but it's going to be not 10, it will be 1 or half out of 500. It's very hard because they're scared, not because it's a crazy goal. It's just that they have never seen anything so big told in their circle. They will be mocked. So this is what I learned from this book, Lynchpin. Actually, it's a very good book. He says that innovation should be here, not here. This is crazy, this is innovation. So if this is normal,
so close to the normal, you mean?
always tell people, this is genius, this is crazy. If you want to stay genius and you want to reach to crazy, you take them slowly. Otherwise you will be called crazy. People don't want crazy around them, to work with, to be friends with. No, but nothing. Very rare people are going to hang out with it, especially in this country, because you need role models. You need crazy to be normal. Interviewing people for you was not normal up till you came here. Now you see everybody, what's going on? So a year ago I couldn't find 10 people to say I want to interview people. Today I have 700 people ready in line to be hired as an interviewer in 1 year's time. Why? Because I made so many around them. I did it over and over and over and over. It made it normal. So you said that we use social media differently. I'm telling you, this is because what I did for the last 10 years. I've used it so much. People don't understand. We have this now, only country in the world who's using Facebook the way it's using, and I'm happy that Facebook is not noticing, because otherwise they will shut us down or something. So
yeah, that's the idea. How do we make conscious business to become normal? So For you,
You do it so many times, you say it so many times repeatedly that you start believing it must be true. You know, there are so many things around us, we think it's true, but we don't know, but we do it because, oh, we must think. We say it so many times that we just think, oh, it must be true. It's all around us, we can see it all the time, but we don't even ask the question anymore after a certain time that, is it really even true? Oh, how dare you even ask that question, right? So you do it so many times that it becomes normal. But so this is, if this is normal, and then slowly you take them, you can take them to that place, and the fun part is they will not become very expensive. And if they do, by the time you are here, you can afford people for this money. When you're here, you can't afford people for this money. So it's a process. So again, people say, you ask me, you know, teach me how to make money. I don't know how to make money, but I know all these things.
No, but this
But all the rest is natural.
because you grow together also. By the time you do this filter, you also grow in your own processes.
You will see the path. By the time you don't know how to become Google. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I don't know how to end poverty, but I will do whatever I can. But you know, this is the process. So never hire people based on what they can do. Hire people based on what can do right now versus what you think they can do. So I like to work with people who tell me I can't do, but I know they can do. So I give them a little task like this, and if they do it and they are persistent, I take them on board. If they're not persistent, then they don't have the drive. So now I have to hack the system. Another hack I need is to make these people into these people, because they have the ability.
So you feel that they need training?
No, it's not the training. Persistence has nothing to do with training. Persistence is something which is around you. For example, you're here in this room, you hear a prayer call, you will be given a reminder, and you automatically go on autopilot and you go for a prayer. It's a system. So you create systems, or you create, as in spirituality you call
But how would you do that for persistence?
you create, well, I'm forgetting the word which I'm looking for, ceremonies or rituals. You create rituals which triggers the subconscious to do certain things. So in our prayer, the ritual is, going 5 times a day for meditation purposes, but the meditation was taken out. So people are still continuing with the rituals. And so in our culture, majority of the rituals are perfect, fantastic actually, but they have lost their essence because they became into total rituals and not for the purpose of, it's not the bad thing, it's just that it happened. Any questions related to this? It's very simple actually, but we have to be disciplined enough to enforce it. It's very difficult to not tell them that I want to go to Google. You really want to. If you really want to be honest, you really want to tell them you want to take the Google. But honest to God, one of the problems in leadership is that you have to, at least I don't know how to not lie and take them to heaven or whatever heaven is, to the destination.
Okay. Thank you.
Is live?
Beautiful.
Oh,
Beautiful.
anyone, majority of the people, most people have never made Google.
Wow.
Okay, that's it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. It makes me want to reach out to him and, have a conversation. and say, look, this is what we're up to.
Yeah, I almost asked him a question myself.
Yeah, yeah.
When he said any questions, I nearly asked.
Yeah, totally, totally. No, I just love how natural he is. I love that he's barefoot and in a t-shirt and just, I just love how and he said, yeah, and I learned this from a book. I love how he revealed the book thing 2/3 into it. If he had started with that, I would have said this is a book report.
Well, I'll get his YouTube channel. I'll put it in the chat for you. You can go ahead and look him up if you want when you have time.
Yeah, I mean, because it sounds like he's got a bit of a following, right?
Oh yeah. I put in I reached out, so I don't know. It was just the other day, so it's gonna take time.
What do his videos have? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views?
Oh, he's got thousands and thousands.
Thousands, probably to tens of thousands. Okay.
Anyway, you'll see. I'll get his channel out.
All right.
I'll put it in the chat.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, this is like a really interesting example of someone who has a community, right? And he speaks to that community through video, right? And he communicates with that community, asynchronously through Facebook, and I'm sure through YouTube comments and whatnot, right? And he sounds like our kind of person.
This Ramadan, everything has changed. And for those caught in conflict and poverty, conditions are now unimaginable. Without the proper support,
Yeah, I'd love to talk with him.
It's in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Let's take a quick peek. Everybody who wants to take a peek. All right. Okay.
Emery, you should look him up yourself and see if you can reach out to him yourself. Try and invite him here to give us a talk.
What I'm going to do in this class is use the lessons of.
I started to reach out. Hasn't nothing happened yet.
So if I go to videos. Oh. So the videos that I see on his page, most of them have hundreds of views. A few have a few thousand views, right? But he looks insanely prolific. I mean, he makes Jamin Shively look like a weekend hobbyist.
His most popular video has
His
just
playlists, Facebook playlists.
Wait, Nolan, you said his most popular video has how many?
just over 500,000.
Okay, yeah, well, obviously, okay, so that's, that's a big deal. So he's someone who, if I were looking at it from a marketing standpoint, which I'm really not inclined to, I would say he puts a whole bunch of stuff against the wall and some of it sticks, right? I mean, because some of those have just hundreds of views, right? I mean, shoot, it must be hard for even his most diehard fans to freaking keep up, right? Because there are these things that make you think afterwards. It's not like just junk food, right? It's got some serious, time release of nutrients going on there. Anyway,
It's very interesting. I'm just getting interested. I'm just getting to see a few of his things, slowly.
Yeah.
There's so much, but you have to check out his playlist there from Facebook. That's where he's done like thousands and thousands of streams, you know.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's recruiting talent there on Facebook.
Yep.
Be very clever about it. And, you know, in fact, it almost kind of begs the question, hey, man, could you, you know, work with us? We need both a coder who can pass, you know, test after test after test, someone with the potential to become $1,000 a month coder, but start him off on a couple of hundred and, you know, develop the whole persistence thing and all that, right? And get some cool stuff coded up. Likewise, a social media somebody who's really good at social media. Could be a teenager who's just a freaking sleuth at social media. And they help us out. I'm just giving examples of how we might be able to collaborate. Right?
You'd be the one to talk to him, though, I think.
Oh, I'll be delighted to talk with him.
Yeah.
Absolutely delighted.
Sure.
Because, you know, then, you know, I think, I mean, frankly, I'm a bit perplexed about this thing about lying. I'm just perplexed, you know, that he was talking about having to lie to his, you know, people. Now, you always have to take stuff like that with a grain of salt because it's a different culture, right? And there are so many shades of lying, so you never really know, you know, unless you're Pakistani, right? You never really know. Anyway, so
But he did say he had a very, very hard time not to lie. He had a very hard time to lie about it because he wanted to tell people, you know, he's taking them to heaven, right?
yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. And well, I mean, and the thing is, with what we're doing here, we're doing the opposite of what he is suggesting, in that we're actually building something, you know, at a minimum, multiple times the size of Google, not by money metric, but by impact on the world, impact on life, particularly saving life. Google to date really hasn't done anything in particular to save life. They've built part of the vital infrastructure, but it's time to take it through the end zone. So it'd just be fascinating because, I mean, we are building something here and we're doing the opposite of what he's recommending there at the very end, right? And so I'd be fascinated for us to talk with him as a group, because then he could query us as a group, right? It looks like, just from the images of his videos up on his YouTube channel, it looks like it's him talking one to many. He may not even have experienced the degree to which we've experienced many to many. And part of the reason I say that with such confidence is, where else in your life have you ever heard about a weekly gathering that goes for 24 hours? I'm hearing a whole bunch of crickets right now.
You're gonna give him ideas.
No, I want to give him ideas because, look, if this becomes a category, we're its leader, because it's better to be first than it is to be better, right? So if we give them the idea and they follow the lead, even if they never reference us, you know, history will. Anyway, and it's a pretty tough act to follow, frankly, right? Other than just putting on some, 10-mile long playlist and doing screen share and, checking in every half an hour. So, hey, how's everybody doing? Everybody cool? Yeah. All right, cool. Cool. We got some more songs. I mean, that, anyone can do that, right? Within reason. This, having 24 hours of, really deep, transformational, radical conversations, where we're pushing boundaries in many important places. And, just doing all the amazing stuff that we're doing that, I certainly can't properly characterize. So, I talk about it loosely as collective superintelligence, not loosely. I mean, there's really nothing loose about it, but it's such a giant hyper object that it kind of defies simple characterization, right? So, we give it a name that I think is that warrants that it's that's commensurate with how huge it is, collective superintelligence, and then let that sort of be a mystery which unfolds over time, right?
I put in the chat a little bio.
Oh, a bio of this gentleman. Okay, very good. Good stuff. Awesome. Thank you, Emery. He runs institutepeace.org, which works under his foundation for his mission to create minimum world income, $500 a month for every human being. That's the same person as we just saw, Emery?
Yeah.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. Oh my goodness. Super cool. Now, we definitely need to talk to this guy. We definitely need to talk. Because feeding everyone is such a close cousin to minimum world income, right? Universal basic income. It's such a close cousin, you'd swear they were siblings. You'd swear they were siblings. Because what we're basically doing is raising the floor from starve until you're emaciated. And what a painful, humiliating death, right? That's the current floor. If you think it's not that low, turn on the television. I mean, it's just, it happens, and it happens by the millions every year, many millions every year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But anyway, I could go on and on, but the bottom line is, we're not just an ultra long format video conference. We're not just that, right? We're about to launch Operation Stone Soup. And that's, that's just like, wow, right? And then when they dig into who are these people, right? Because I think that was the first question you articulated, James, if I'm not mixing up my brothers here. But I think the first question is, who are these people? Who the hell are these people? Right? And then they'll have a bunch of other questions. But the first question is, who the hell are these people? And well, we got hundreds of hours of Block Party for you to pour through, right? We're about to cross the 300-hour mark. If we were in pilot training, we'd be flying a 747 to Hong Kong by now. right? So, you know, and that's just with the block party. Throw in the Solution Club, and it's at this point, I'd have to do the math, but it's on the order of 50 times 6. It's on the order of about 1,000 hours ballpark of Solution Club, right? And including it's the same thing, but under a slightly different name, the Social Club. From Social Club at the end of the world to the Solution Club at the beginning of the new world. We're about 1,000 hours deep into that, right? Just because we've been doing it for years. But Block Party is already catching up fast. It's about to cross the 300-hour mark after having been at it for less than 3 months. So it'll take us less than it'll take us less than 9 months total for Block Party to pass up Solution Club. Now, sorry, add another 3 months to that. It'll take it a year, and then it'll pass it up. But it's certainly smoking now. And also, it's really in a class all by itself, because it's this ultra long format, you know, spiritual journey that you take once a week. It's like going to Burning Man and dropping acid once a week, right?
What do you see the timeline? What do you see the countdown for Louisiana, or
Louisville, or whatever the city,
Louisville.
yeah, whatever city we net out with. I would say as soon as we can. Here's what I'm going to commit to doing. By end of day Monday, I will email to you all just in time for the Solution Club meeting on Tuesday. So Monday night. Sorry, let me make notes of my commitments. Okay. I will email the draft script for the press conference. And by the way, the script for the press conference for the one in 2013 with President Fox, take a guess how long that script was in the making.
Three days.
Okay, 3 days. Any other guesses?
One night.
1 night. Okay. Any other guesses?
A week.
Okay. 3 days, 1 week, 1 night. Any other guesses?
3 years.
I had 3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. Okay, so we got a pretty good spread there.
And I go 3 years, is it?
3 years. 3 years. Okay. So I wrote the script for the press conference for my part of it. I didn't write anybody else's. I just wrote my own. But I wrote that the morning of the press conference, and the press conference, I think, was like 11 a.m. And so I ordered breakfast in, and a documentary television crew was there, and they filmed me in my pajamas eating breakfast, even writing some of the script, calling up President Vicente Fox on the phone. and saying, Señor Presidente, and being filmed. And he said, Dígame. I mean, he's just like the real deal. And so, but I just whipped it out that morning, because prior to that, I was just getting all ready for his arrival. You know, former head of state of Mexico, you know, generals got involved in that process. American generals, right, is just one example of who ended up getting involved, right? You know, I don't like pissing off generals. It's not a hobby of mine. So we just had to do everything right, basically, and had to do it. You know, anyway, there was just bottom line. I just didn't get to it until freaking that morning, and I just whipped it out, right? So, but another answer is that it took me my whole life, right? Going back to when I was a teenager in the 1980s. That great musical era, you know, editing letters to the editor that my dad was writing to the Oakland Tribune, right? So I got into the game of writing very young, writing stuff that mattered, that, you know, changed the course of Bay Area history, right? So really, I've been preparing for that my whole life.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah.
So it's either a couple of
natural.
Yeah.
El natural.
But anyway, and I just, but here's the thing, you know, different from that, where I was, you know, I'd write something up and then send it via email to a couple of people and maybe talk it through by phone or something like that. Here we're Zooming, right? And it's just such high quality, right? All the stars aligned, computer power, internet bandwidth, all the switching and buffering and all the myriad technologies that you never hear about that make it all work. And so, and we're able to go long format, and we're all grounded at home. This is a science fiction movie in layers. It's sci-fi movie layered on top of sci-fi movie layered on top of sci-fi movie. You've got one about the planet overheating, another about a pandemic, another about collective superintelligence, another about hunger, another about eradication of hunger, right? Another about spiritual transformation from, you know, individuality and money and hoarding and all that stuff. So there's just a whole new paradigm where just like everybody eats and everybody is taken care of, and it's just kumbaya, right? Kumbaya. That's not a bad name for it. Kumbaya, baby. All right. I'll just add it. From K-Mama and Kamaya to Kumbaya. It's a sign.
Zumbaya.
Pardon me?
Zumbaya.
Zumbaya. Not bad, Emery. Shoot. Not bad. Dang. And we can do a song. Zumbaya, my Lord. Zumbaya, oh Lord. Zumbaya. Someone's hungry, my Lord. Zumbaya. You know, I think this would be something kind of more on the down low. Kind of like only for people who watch Saturday Night Live all the way to the end do you get to see the Mr. Bill show. Now I know Emery and James know what I'm talking about. I don't know about other folks. Melvin too. All right, James knows what I'm talking about. But you had to stay up to like 1 a.m. to see Mr. Bill get smushed, right? For those of you not in the know, Mr. Bill was this Play-Doh doll that they'd make, and they'd do like not even animation. I mean, they'd like, you know, do stuff like put him on the floor of the kitchen and then You know, the dog would come along and bite off its head. I mean, it was the kind of stuff that any of us could have put together. You didn't need to be particularly artistic. So it wasn't about the quality, but it was the first, you know, psychiatric level fun, you know, goofy, you know, way over the top thing for adults, right? Anyway, they blazed a new category, but kind of like that for this, you know, we'll have things that you kind of have to be really deep in the know, right? And when you're 1,000 hours behind, 1,000 hours is kind of a lot of catching up to do, right? And so there's something so unique and powerful about being in it for the ride versus watching documentaries about it. And there'll be so many great documentaries about it, but there's no comparison. So I've compared being here in this, you know, group of I'm just going to call us lifers, right? Of which we're a good representation of, and there's more of us. You know, Miles is a lifer. It's a heck of a term because we're not even 3 months old and we've got lifers. But this is a unique, totally unique experience, which is also totally foundational for where we're going, right? It's absolutely vital that there are folks like us who've been on the journey and walked it together with our own feet, right?
We'll be going to the Kentucky Derby, man.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but that's kind of a finer point. You know, we are, but countering that on the other extreme is we are radically inclusive. So it's easy to hang with us. If you want to hang with us, you can, right? It's like you hear about that freaking award-winning, just incredibly badass dojo a few blocks from where you live. You could totally sign up for that. But, you know, you'd have to put in the hours and the discipline. But it's like, hey, if you don't want to be if you're not a badass martial artist a couple of years from now, it's because you don't want to be, right? You have to want to hang with us, right? And yeah, radically inclusive. Exactly. We are radically inclusive. Oh, speaking of which, Nolan, if you don't mind, I'm just going to pause for a second. Okay. So, where were we before mentioning that? Yeah, no, I was just making it very clear that if you want to hang with us, you can. We're not exclusive. We're radically inclusive. Radically inclusive. And proud of it. And that's really part of our core essence. And so, you know, we're just creating this really, really unique, totally unique community. But judge us by what we do in the world. And the most impactful thing is what we're about to do. That will be the thing that makes local, national, and world news, particularly as we get more mayors to sign up, right? Who's not going to accept the offer to be friends and colleagues working closely as one of the early pioneering mayors who take this on, Operation Stone Soup, and, you know, food healers. who's not going to jump at that opportunity? For the guy who's just got minted and is now incoming president of the United States, what is it, Convention of Mayors, right? Or whatever it's called. That is so huge. So I think my guess is that we'll get mayors from around the world and around the country. And he'll say, we're starting it here. And, you know, we have commitments of, you know, participation from, you know, 25 different cities around the world on 5 continents, you know, poof, there you go. We're off to the races. What mayor would say no to that opportunity at a time like this? This is the time. Yes, Nolan, go ahead.
Well, I didn't mean to stop you, but Hugo had shared a while ago a link to a YouTube video of Bill Maher, I think is how you say his name, that he posted like maybe a little less than a week ago. And it's got quite a few views, and I think it's a good example of the vegan narrative, animal liberation narrative entering mainstream media.
Perfect. Love it. I actually met Bill Maher at his house, at a party at his house back in the cannabis days.
Nice.
So I got to hang with Bill Maher and do fun things at his house. Yeah, he's got a lot of influence.
Well, it's only 5 minutes long if we want to watch it at some point.
Yeah, let's play it. You want to pass it to me, or you want to do it, Nolan?
I'll do it.
Go for it.
And finally, new rule, stop trying to get me to watch Tiger King. It's not going to happen. I already have to watch one bottle blonde from reality TV. And the other reason I'm not watching Tiger King while sequestering, because torturing animals is what got us into this mess. That's the lesson we keep refusing to learn, that you can't trash the environment, including animals, and not have it come back and kill you. 2 weeks ago, I called out China for reopening their wet markets, and miraculously, people from both sides of the aisle reached out to say, good for you for saying that. Well, here's another hot take that may not be as popular. America's factory farming is just as despicable as a wet market and just as problematic for our health. Factory farms have a lot more lobbyists, but ecological time bombs tick the same. Americans should not get too high and mighty about wet markets while we are doing this. Most, if not all, infectious diseases are zoonotic, meaning they start in animals and jump to humans. AIDS likely came from primates. Someone butchered a monkey or fucked one or something they shouldn't have been doing with a monkey. Mad cow came from cattle, eating cattle, which is like feeding a chicken an omelet. Just 2 weeks ago, a fatal strain of bird flu was confirmed in a commercial turkey flock in South Carolina. Now, to thwart the coronavirus, we've been told to create distance, avoid others who are sick, lower stress, and exercise. Are you surprised that diseases flourish among animals when they're forced to live in conditions that are the complete opposite of all of that? They're on top of each other, they can't move, they're stressed out. I've seen airports treat luggage better than we treat animals. Egg-laying hens are starved and given no water for weeks to shock their bodies into molting. Beaks of chickens are removed. I could go on. Have you ever driven by a high-density feedlot? Yeesh. To get relief from the stench, you have to stick your nose in an egg salad sandwich. If you think the market in Wuhan is gross, you should visit one of our giant poultry processing factories. But of course you can't, because we have ag-gag laws that make it a crime to report the crime. And it is a crime of animal abuse that goes on in our food industry. You're worried that the mailman has coronavirus? 80% of pigs have pneumonia when they're slaughtered, because we make them live in conditions that would make a zombie vomit, and then, so they don't die before we kill them, pump them full of antibiotics that in turn get passed on to humans. That in turn leads to antibiotic-resistant diseases, that in turn leads to us dying from ever-evolving contagions. It's 6 degrees of tainted bacon. We're on the cusp of returning to a pre-antibiotic era where strep throat was a death sentence. Let me put it as basically as I can. If we keep producing food the way we do, you're going to get sick with something medicine cannot fix. You don't have to care for the sake of the animals. I wouldn't want to mess with anyone's reputation as a heartless asshole. But do it because animal cruelty leads to human catastrophe. Do it because barbecue is why you've been masturbating for a month. And get the fuck away from me with Tiger King. I don't care that he sees the light at the end. So did Darth Vader. There's no such thing as keeping a wild animal pent up, but treating them well. Just ask Siegfried in What Remains of Roy. Joe Exotic is in prison partly for killing 5 endangered tigers, which are endangered because of people like him. I don't get why the woke left loves this show so much and isn't on this guy like pink sequins. People should take their meandering outrage and focus it on this issue. You keep animals in cages, be they tigers or turkeys, and look who winds up being the prisoner.
Oh my goodness. That needs to be posted everywhere. Oh my goodness. You know what? You know how I was talking earlier today about like how there was a moment when, right? I predict, I'm calling it right now, and I'm recording when I say this, okay? I predict that that's the moment when humanity got that veganism is where it's at. And it might take a couple months to build. It might be a sleeper, or it might blast right on go viral right away. But I predict that that will go down as the moment. And I say this because I know that a lot of influential people in West LA, which is the media capital of the world, right up there with New York, but probably more LA than New York. Anyway, a lot of influential people there watch Bill Maher. So he's kind of like the trim tab on the rudder that is LA. He's an important, not the only one, but he's one of a handful of trim tabs, right? And, it's partly because he's local and, they know him and they party with him and, all this cool stuff. And his house, which I think that background might have been a video of his house, he's got a big ass spread. Plenty of space for big ass parties, right? So anyway, everybody knows him, they love him, they party with him. And so, he's kind of the go-to default person they listen to for what the heck's going on. And now with everything shaking up, it's kind of hard to imagine a better media thing, because this is the kind of thing that they'll get to watch and chew on for a while, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's he tells it like it is. Like there's no he cuts straight to the shit. Like it's like I was saying as well earlier on. Like that's the answer to him with the question. Like in the press conference, if they asked what should we get rid of all the meat markets, we don't even have to bring that one up or even mention the word veganism. No, because as I said, that's already taken care of itself. Like you know what I mean. Bill Maher there is a perfect example of that. There, no, like,
No,
that's just it's
that-
already taken care of itself.
that's the jewel in the crown. That's the trim tab that will move the LA rudder. Myra, you're gonna love to see this video, and maybe I think Jackie will be back soon. As soon as Jackie's back, or we've just got a few inspirational vegans here, we got to play that again because you're gonna love this, Jackie. It's only 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I called you Jackie. You're Myra, Sister Myra. See, I have two sisters and I get them confused. So I'm just going to say sister from now on. That way I can't go wrong. Just kidding.
It's okay. I am her. She is me. So you can call her Myra. You can call me Jackie.
That was the most gracious answer you could have possibly given me. Thank you, Myra. Yeah, it's so sweet. Oh my goodness. Anyway, they put the video in the chat so you can watch it whenever you want, but oh my goodness. It's Bill Maher just rocking it about ending animal agriculture. Full stop. He hits it outside the park. He hits it outside the park and he hits it beyond the parking lot. So no windshields were hurt in the making of this home run. I mean, it's out of there.
And yeah, man.
Yep.
If you allow me, I just want to make a point here. Despite how clear this type of messages, as the one that we just saw from Bill Maher, is clear for us, we need to keep in mind that there are other people that are just basically not willing to change either their own ideas, either their current behaviors, their current diet. And I was just talking about this with my son this morning, and while discussing how we need to do to make changes in the minds of a lot of people in order to improve our planet, he just pointed out that we need to be aware that despite all this evidence, despite all these things that we're facing right now in our planet, there is still people who are reluctant to accept, to change, and to, well, just to see this in the same way as we see it. So we gotta be prepared for that.
You know, as you were talking, and I really appreciate your saying that, Ugo, in terms of willingness to change, if you go back to that video that Emery kindly played us, the gentleman in Pakistan, talking about how there's ways to actually structurally, create the game, so to speak, in such a way that persistence is trained in, right? In our case, what the currency is not persistence, but change, willingness to change. Now, here's the thing. With the current pandemic, what we call Dos Equis, code name, with Dos Equis, people have already changed. They were forced to change, right? I'm sure we all experienced the shock and, you know, almost indignation of what? I can't just go out and, you know, do stuff anymore. I have to put on a mask and gloves, you know. What am I, a surgeon? Right? And so people, but that was forced on us and we hated it and we did it. And then we started to love certain things about it. And that was kind of weird because amidst so much death, you know, you feel guilty about, you know, loving any aspect of that. But nonetheless, here we are in this really bizarre situation where everything has changed. Everything, work, food, everything, shopping, socializing. We're now all socializing through the computer. We used to meet in person, right? So everything has changed. So I think we're now trained to change. And so, and I think that what happened is Bill Maher, I'm trying to remember what we ate that night, but for him to embrace this so publicly, and the humor was just incredible, right? I don't want to mess with anyone's reputation for being, you know, a something a-hole. I mean, but it was hard hitting, right? But he said it like, I don't want to say that about anyone. But in so doing, he said it. I mean, it was just textbook Bill Maher, right? Which is, you know, a graduate level course. But that was textbook Bill Maher. And, oh my goodness. No, I mean, it just speaks volumes about where West LA is at, which is, you know, the engine of global media, right?
I am going to jump out. I'm going to listen to the video that it was posted on the chat, and I'll be right back and I'll let you know what I think.
All right, well, just make sure you're in a good place where you're ready to scream, because you're going to scream with joy. You're going to love it.
All right.
So, some images maybe not suitable for children, but you know, other than that, and some language maybe not suitable.
All right, I'll check it out.
All right, thank you, Myra. And we'll see you shortly.
See you shortly.
See, listen, she couldn't even wait. She cannot wait to see the video. This is from us talking about it. This is what makes people see videos, is other people talking about them. People post links here, there, and everywhere. I've got links printed on my toilet paper, right? Doesn't mean I watch them all. So I'm just kidding about that. But anyway, it's when people say, you got to watch it. Look, she's gone. She's out of here, right? People are watching that video. Oh my goodness. And it's just going to, yeah.
This could be a new feature Zoom could incorporate as a volume control. So you could take 5 minutes out and listen to another audio.
All right. Well, you know, it's been no less than 2 hours since our last break. How are people feeling breaky-wise, especially since Myra took a video break? Break?
I'd be good for a Java.
How many minutes are looking good for people? I might get some.
Well, the last break, I was just going on 12 p.m. here, and I said I was going to hang in for an hour. It's now gone 2 a.m., so I'm going to try and crash for a few hours now, and I'll catch you in the morning early.
Please.
But I'm looking forward to a few nice, comfortable hours sleep now without any pain, if I can.
I'm so happy for you, brother. And listen, James, I'm going to pause recording.
Them too.
Okay, recording again. Yeah, that's it. So don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. And thank you for being here for freaking almost 12 hours. Right?
No bother. I will see you in the morning and take care.
Love you, brother, and take really good
Bye.
care of yourself. And I'm so glad to hear you're feeling better. All right, we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thanks. Night.
I mean, look at that. Look at James. Freaking, I don't know, 11 hours, 10 and a half. I don't know. I forget how many hours, but it's like people come here and they hang out many hours, right? And, you know, one way to look at it is volunteer work. We're working to save life on Earth. We're working to make sure everyone's fed, so we don't devolve into madness and chaos and Mad Max and violence and armed gangs and militias, right? Looting storehouses of grain, cash, women. Come on. The criminal drug cartels are going to have a field day. Anyway, let's prevent all that. We've got a real mission here, okay? To save life on Earth, because we need an organized humanity in order to, you know, come up with all these solutions. And when I say come up with all these solutions, I don't just mean solutions on paper. I mean all the implementation plans that get you right back to the present moment, like what the gentleman in Pakistan lectured on. Get right back to the present moment, right here, right now, and take the next step. Right? Because we're building the Google of global transformation. Google built the Google of Google. We're building the Google of global transformation, the machinery of collective superintelligence, and not just the technical machinery, the cultural machinery, right? The spiritual machinery of saying, screw it, you know, I can hang in there for 20 hours. That's about how long I'll have been on this video conference at the end of the day. Because thanks to Nolan's generosity, I get a 5-hour break from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Speaking of which, Nolan, if you want to take yourself a nap or something, you know, don't hesitate.
Yeah, I'll probably do that pretty soon here, actually. I was planning on taking like 6 to 9.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's hang out till whenever you're ready. I mean, no pressure or anything like that. And if you're ready to go now, go for it. You know, especially if you're starting to feel a little tired, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll go for a nap right now because I am feeling it.
Good. Go for it, man. Awesome. I'm happy for you. Sleep in, and we'll do the handoff at 9.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Super psyched for you, man. Have great sleep. Maybe have a beer or something before you hit the sack. That's always good to kind of prime the pump.
I don't have any, and it wakes me up.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'll pause recording. All right, resuming recording, and super cool.
Jamin, I will have also to step out a bit. Since we are on quarantine, we have this routine to make some exercise, and my family is already outside waiting for me. So I will take some time to do that, and I will try to return.
Yeah, perfect. Wonderful. Look, no pressure. You've been super generous with your time as always, and we really appreciate you, Hugo. So thank you so much, and thank you again for inviting folks.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Hugo. See ya. All righty. Emery's making some coffee. Well, it sounds like a good time for just sort of a general break. James is going to get some sleep. Emery's making coffee. All right. I'm going to pause recording. Maybe even just stop recording because that was a good chunk.